This episode of Techzilla is sponsored by National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, Netflix, and GoDaddy.com. Coming up on this episode, a festival of DIY. We headed over to Maker Faire down in San Mateo, Gateway's iMac-like PC, and the Zune. I've got the latest on Microsoft's iPod competitor, plus why the 70s died. Hint, it's not because of high oil prices. So put your Chevy Nova in park, turn off your cell phone, and sit back and relax, because Techzilla starts now.
Welcome to Techzilla. I'm your host, Patrick Norton, and I've been shushed by Veronica Belmont.
Zip it.
Zip it.
I'm Veronica Belmont, as he said already.
And we've got a great show lined up for you today, but we want to beg the people in the control room to not flick the cameras back and forth because the tally lights are making Veronica's head
Gets me all like
pop off. Come on, show them what you're doing. That'll be amazing to watch in the video. No way. You were
yeah,
like
do it on the
3, 1, 2, 1,
cameras.
3, 1, 2, 1. They're not going to do it.
Wait, no, what? What? Let's go. What? Oh, geez. All right. Well, anyway. All right. Simmer down. Simmer. Simmer down now.
I'm chill.
We'd like to thank everyone that participated in our GoToMeeting earlier this week. Redundant is redundant. It was a very helpful and eye-opening experience, and we hope to have one very soon. I did not participate.
No, you did not. But about 60 people participated. We actually stayed online for about 2.5 hours. We want to thank everybody that came out, and we're going to talk about some of the changes we might be making based on that, including, hint, live calls.
Live calls. Live calls.
Speaking of live calls, it's finally out. Windows XP Service Pack 3 is available for download, as our producer Roger Chang installed it this morning. Basically, it takes all the 100 or so updates and hotfixes since SP2 and rolls them into one round fat download. Windows XP Service Pack 3, Microsoft tells us, includes all previously released updates for the operating system. It also includes a small number of new functionalities which do not significantly change customers' experience with the operating system.
So is that like a big deal?
Well, if nothing else, actually having just installed XP for a XP Vista dual boot system that we're going to talk about next week, and having to do 97 updates, I'm kind of excited about that.
97 updates.
It's a lot of hotfixes.
Was that literally 97 updates?
Literally 97 updates.
All right.
Fortunately, they all got updated in sort of one long, thank goodness I have a giant connection to the internet.
So it obviously
download.
Goes without saying that you will be downloading this latest service pack.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, it'll be much faster if you're reinstalling Windows XP.
So does that mean that XP still has like life yet? It still has legs to stand on for the future?
It's really interesting because Dell and some of the other major PC manufacturers are taking a look at customer demand and some language in their XP licensing that says they can continue to offer Vista downgrades for the foreseeable future. In theory, Microsoft's going to stop XP around June, but I'm almost positive Microsoft's going to kill XP in June, but I can't imagine that they're not going to. Basically, like Dell, HP, anybody with major corporate customers is going to keep XP available for as long as possible. And it's probably going to be available for consumers, too.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yes. It's a strange deal, though.
Why?
It's just lawyers. They always find happy little loopholes.
That's kind of their job.
Happy little
All right,
loopholes.
so that's this week's poll. Do you think SP3 release means that XP is finally making the voyage to scrapyard? Or is it proof that XP's popularity is just as strong as it ever was, especially in light of Vista's problematic release? And don't yell at us for saying that.
Yeah, actually, Vista's stabilizing nicely.
It was problematic, though, so we can call it that.
We can.
Without getting mad.
No.
All right, so next topic.
Just to make things interesting, this is kind of a strange one. Right now, the Java One conference is happening this week in San Francisco. It's a conference for Java programmers, developers, and stuff, which means some of my friends from the Nerds list are probably intoxicated in the back of a room right now, making notes and laughing hysterically at what people call programming. What's even more interesting is that Neil Young was part of the keynote address at this year's conference.
Neil Young?
It's really interesting. No, he has a multimedia project. Basically, he's taking all of his back catalog and chronicling it using Java and Blu-ray as the platform, because Blu-ray uses Java. Look at this face. That's
I just can't really imagine Neil Young being like, I'm going to, I'm trying to do a bad Neil Young impersonation. It's not going very well.
So go ahead. You're going to be ageist here.
I'm going to.
Oh, you're going to be whinish.
Yeah, that's
Neil Young
how it sounds to me. I'm sorry. Everyone makes fun of me because I don't like Neil Young. Literally, all my friends make fun of me because I don't like Neil Young. I didn't know they were huge Neil Young fans or anything, but my mom used to listen to Neil Young all the time, and so I got it in my head at a very young age that I could not stand his freaking voice.
Interesting.
So I think he's a great musician, but his voice just drives me crazy. So,
anyhow.
that's why I didn't attend the Java 1 conference.
Java 1 programmers got a bit of a treat if they woke up in time for the keynote this morning.
Very nice.
Or a bit of a horrible experience if, like Veronica, you can't
like
stand.
I feel bad.
Feel young.
Yeah, but speaking of Blu-ray sales, they haven't exactly gone through the roof since HD DVD went bye-bye. What do you think's up with that?
After 2 years of struggling competition between HD DVD and Blu-ray, HD TV's superior interface got its ass kicked by better backroom dealings by Blu-ray. Why am I speaking in like radio announcer voice?
I don't know,
because
you tend to slip into that sometimes.
I don't know how that happens.
But so what? So they didn't exactly drop prices when
that's
they
what's
won.
it. Blu-ray discs are still expensive. Rentals are still relevant. Although you can try a free trial at Netflix, www.netflix/Techzilla, and get all the Blu-ray discs you want to download. Mostly though, the hardware is still stupid expensive. And a lot of the inexpensive hardware...
Well, the hardware is coming down, I think. I think it's the Blu-ray discs that are not getting cheaper.
Well, I mean, there's still, if you go to the store, still a lot of $350, $500 Blu-ray players. And I think that's still a bit much for most people. And I think people are still kind of miffed, maybe, would that be the word for it, of the whole battle between HD DVD and Blu-ray?
Maybe. I was, I kind of went with HD DVD because I was on the underdog kind of deal, but, I don't think Blu-ray is a bad format either.
I mean, in terms of the actual video and audio quality, they're pretty much indistinguishable. I think the menuing system on HD DVD was a lot more usable, and the fact that they have a standardized system and there's not a weird lack of upgrades for some of the older Blu-ray players.
The manufacturing process between Blu-ray and HD DVD was a lot similar to DVD processes, so it was far less expensive to actually create, and they didn't have to rebuild all new manufacturing plants and all that kind of thing. But Blu-ray was, a little harder. I think it has to do with I forget why.
It's just the weird disc manufacturing. All I know is that, you know what, Sony, it's time. It's time to slash the prices on the hardware. It's time to take a strong look at slashing the prices on the discs and making them more affordable for everybody. Or keep trickling in a pathetic... it just makes me sad because DVDs can look so much better if they're Blu-ray, since HD DVD is dead.
There's always downloadable content. So anyway, we should probably move forward.
27 gigabyte downloads.
What are you gonna do?
All right, time for the first email question?
Yes, this one is from Craig, and he says, I'm interested in purchasing one of my new 80 gigabyte Zune 2s, mainly for the ability to automatically download podcasts without being connected to a computer. Any idea if Techzilla's HD video will play on the Zune? Have you guys ever used the new Zune, and how would you rate it? Thanks, Craig. Well, funny you should mention that.
I'm just excited you can actually do something useful with the 802.11 inside the Zune now.
That's true. Yeah, but Techzilla should work on your Zune at this point. We did have a little bit of a bump there for a while.
There was an RSS feed subscription issue that impacted the Zune marketplace and also impacted Moreau. That has been unwonked. You, however, have just returned from a flight to rainy Washington.
Right, on Monday night they actually updated the Zune software to 2.5. So there's all sorts of new functionality that came with Zune.net.
You got to fly to Seattle for a
I went to Seattle for the
update.
first time. I hung out with the Zune guys. It was pretty fun. Actually, I've never been up to the Pacific Northwest.
It's pretty. But the Zune.
The Zune, yeah, of course, the Zune, fine. So the newest software release that adds support for video.
Let's just take a moment. We want to wave hello to the Zune software people.
Hey, you guys. So anyway.
She had so much fun.
I had so much fun. Invite me back again anytime. I want to meet Bill. Could we go get lunch or something? Can they make that happen? That'd be neat. I heard his car has its own security guard.
Yes.
Is that true?
It's worth that much.
And they, if you get too close near it, alarms go off?
No, I think the ex-Marine just shoots you.
They shoot you right in the leg. Anyhow, that's a lie. The newest software release adds support for video, namely TV shows from such wonderful programming institutions as NBC, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, and even the Sci-Fi Channel. Yes, beloved Battlestar Galactica is on there as well.
So this is paid content?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you download it with Microsoft points and
Microsoft
points. Some wonderful Microsoft points. However, the downside is you can't get your Xbox Marketplace videos on your Zune or vice versa unless you're streaming Zune content over your home network.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, it makes sad Veronica.
So let's have this version and this version and this version that are all on Microsoft
They'll work
products.
it out. It has to do with licensing things. I'm pretty sure.
Ouch.
So that's kind of the problem. And no movies yet, which is a bummer. But TV shows, like I mentioned, will be about 160 Microsoft points, which equates to about $2, which isn't, you know, iTunes is $1.99 for most TV shows, so it's pretty on par.
I was in an airport, couldn't see Battlestar Galactica. I would easily pay $2 to see it.
I downloaded the entire season of Gossip Girl.
I saw that for the first time last night. My wife and I are obsessed. It's terrifying.
What, Gossip Girl?
Yes.
Whatever, dude. Anyhow, they're really making a push for subscriptions with the $14.99 Zune Pass. So on that front, they're really, you know, they've got a leg up on Apple there, because Apple hasn't gotten around to putting out any kind of subscription plan yet. Which is kind of annoying. I personally prefer to own my music permanently. As opposed to doing a subscription thing, but I definitely see the plus side to having a subscription
the subscriptions
pass.
Are so fun because you get to explore all this stuff. You don't really care. You don't really, you know, it's $20 a month. If you want to own it, you can still figure out how to own it.
I just like to have a giant external hard drive that I can swap out my music from if it starts to clog up my laptop.
I have like 700 CDs on a wall, so I understand.
It's because you're old school.
Old school.
Old school. Anyhow, there's also Zune card support, and this thing is actually really neat. So if you have friends on like Xbox Live or on the Zune, the social site, Zune.net, they have a little card and you can drag it down into your Zune when it's connected, and then it will automatically subscribe to your friends' like top 3 favorite tracks or favorite most recently listened songs, anything basically that's like it's like a mini feed. So every time you sync, it'll download those recent tracks and you can listen to them. And then of course you have the option to buy them.
That's so strange.
It's cool though, right? So you can always learn about new music.
Thing. Well, yeah, assuming your friends don't listen to the same 3 tracks for like 4 months.
Well, I mean, if you're friends with me, you'll get that. Yeah. It's the same song over and over again. So, Craig, in short, I think Zune is making a lot of positive changes. It still has the potential to give the iPod a run for its money. I know you didn't ask about that, but I'm telling you anyway. And yes, this is coming from a devout iPod user.
This is true.
Which is me.
This is you.
That is me. So anyway, I think maybe we should do something with this 80 gigabyte Zune that I've got here that's been burning a hole in my purse for the past week or so.
Past week or so. I just got back last night.
This is airing on Friday.
This is so complicated, this whole time shifting thing. Jeez. I think, though, we should let one of our viewers take this thing off our hands, or at least off Veronica's hands, since she hasn't really let go of it yet. I'm thinking a little contest. Since the show is primarily viewer question based, she let me hold the Zune. We'd like you guys to send us in a video question. Just upload your question to YouTube, make sure it's no more than 15 seconds long, and then send us an email with the link. Once you do, you'll automatically be entered to win this 80 gigabyte Zune in glamorous black. Goes with everything, whether we actually air your question or not. Now, we're going to randomly select an entry to win. Please send your entries to techzilla@revision3.com and get them to us before midnight Pacific on May the 19th. That's 3 a.m. on May the 20th for everybody in the West Coast. That should be plenty of time.
Right.
Oh, wait, but that's not all. You have more toys.
Maybe I do. What could this be? We've got, for your listening pleasure, a pair of Zune premium headphones. Aren't they lovely? They're kind of sound isolated-y. Sound isolated-y.
Which would be nice, because I don't know if you guys can hear the people running down the hallway with the giant thing.
They're crazy. Yeah, so these are nice. And also a card worth 800 Microsoft points, which is around 10 songs.
Ooh.
So you get like, I don't know, maybe it's like a song.
Where does the whole point
9 songs
thing
and
come
3/4. No, I'm just kidding. It's 10 full songs. I don't understand why they do it with points either, but hey, that's the method that they have. So send us in your questions, and remember, it doesn't matter if we play your question on the air or not. If you just send us in one, you'll be entered to win. And so not only do you have the possibility of internet fame by getting your mug on Techzilla, you also might win a few beautiful prizes.
Yes, and do us a favor. It's netcam, video camera, edited, not edited. Just keep it short, keep it tight, and send it out. That's how you're going to get your chance to win.
Short and sweet. Okay, let's put these away before I decide I don't want to give them out.
It's time now for our Netflix-sponsored movie of the week. This week's pick is Weird Science. This 1985 classic centers on 2 high school friends, I'd call them misfits in a lovable sort of way, desperate to fit in and, well, you know, have stuff with ladies that they're maybe a little bit young for.
Get laid!
Well, that's what Veronica likes to say. Failing with all the other avenues, they decided to try and create a virtual woman on their computer and end up creating a live flesh and blood woman named Lisa. rather deftly played, as Mr. Chang typed, by Kelly LeBrock. Sure, it's another 80s John Hughes movie starring Anthony Michael Hall, but this one's a bit more unrealistic, fantasy-based, freakish, and has some of our favorite actors. And it's still got that same nostalgic 80s charm. And here's a fun fact for you. Kelly LeBrock's character's name was inspired by Apple's first GUI computer, the Apple Lisa, most of which are sitting in a landfill somewhere in North America. Plus, we'll be setting up a thread about it in the Revision 3 forum, so after you're done watching, tell us what you think in the forum thread.
And don't forget, if you're craving movie rentals without driving to the store, check out Netflix.com. With over 90,000 titles online, including Blu-ray titles, you're bound to find the title you're looking for. Plus, with 40 shipping centers, almost all deliveries happen in just one business day. And shipping both ways is free. Plans start at $4.99, but as a Texzilla viewer, you can get a free trial by signing up at www.netflix.com/Texzilla. It's time once again for our Gadget of the Week, where we share with you that one gadget, gizmo, or device that makes our lives just a tad bit easier. This week's pick is sound isolating headphones. With today's popularity of portable music, having a quality set of headphones can make the difference between listening to your music and experiencing your music. But what if you also want to block out extraneous sounds and annoying background noise? Well, you could go with noise-canceling headphones and possibly give up some sound quality, or you can go with in-ear sound isolating headphones. Unlike traditional earbuds, in-ear sound isolating headphones seal in your ear, preventing noise from leaking in and out and providing a much better listening experience all around. Great for long airplane flights, which, trust me, I know a lot about, or commuting on a subway, and without the giant battery pack sitting on the side of your head like noise cancelers do. Of course, not all in-sound isolating headphones and earbuds are equal, so you'll need to compare quality, fit, and price to see which is best for you. You'll also want to watch your volume, as it's quite easy to damage your hearing if you're not careful. Plus, that sound blocking quality can be a problem if you're driving, riding a bike, or walking in a traffic-heavy area. But if you need headphones that aren't bulky, enjoy listening to music, and don't mind paying attention to where you're going, in-ear buds that are sound isolating are definitely the way to go. All right, Pat, well, we're over here now. We are over here now.
So strange.
I think it's time, now that we're over here, to answer a question from Omar, who's curious about the Gateway 1. He writes, I was searching online for an all-in-one PC, and I came upon the Gateway 1. Can you guys do a review on it and give me your opinion? Sincerely, Omar. Well, all-in-one PCs are hardly new, and it came as no surprise when Patrick found a post-it note on this Gateway that was read, I wish I was a Mac, one morning when he walked into work. Who would do such a thing?
Oh, I knew exactly who did such a thing.
Such a thing?
It's kind of obnoxious, but I knew the handwriting, and they found a frog in their coffee mug the next morning.
It actually wasn't me. They all think it was me now, but it really wasn't me.
It really wasn't her.
I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. So let's talk about this guy.
Okay, Gateway 1, right? There's 3 models of them. They all have 1400 by 900, 19-inch monitors, dual-core Intel Core 2, duo processors, and Vista Home Premium, 8-channel audio, and they have a spit-if out too, which is pretty cool if you're into the home theater thing, wireless keyboards, and the River Rock wireless optical 2-button touch wheel, which is not really a wheel. It's sort of a touch. You get used to it. It's actually a little strange, but you get used to it. 1.3 megapixel webcam, 802.11 ABGN, and they all have at least 2 gigabytes of RAM, a 320 gigabyte SATA 2 hard drive, Intel Core 2, blah, 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 blah. So, the $1,300 model is integrated Intel graphics, which suck, but they're fine if you're just doing web browsing and basic computing stuff. No 3D gaming there.
Yeah. The
2 top models have ATI Mobility Radeon 2600 XTs, which are actually not too bad.
All right, well, enough of all that mumbo-jumbo. How does it actually feel to get your hands on it and use it?
I spent a week using it in the office. Like the iMac, it's, you know, it can use a little more speed in the processor. It's kind of like they're recycling notebook parts for a desktop. And I got to be honest, I've been using a 3.3 gigahertz quad-core machine lately, so everything feels a little slow in comparison to that. Everything. I
think your opinion has been slightly skewed by that experience.
I think it's absolutely been skewed. The only major problem I found was an occasionally flaky mouse, but given the amount of cabling and wireless gadgetry on my desktop, it probably isn't the mouse's fault, especially since the batteries in it were old. I figured out they had actually been there from the previous reviewer, threw a fresh set in, no problems.
Now what is this touch sensitive?
Yes.
Here? I see. Interesting.
Here, I can bring a wheel up. You can watch the window go up and down.
Wouldn't work if you were a Cylon.
You never know.
Yeah, the webcam looks a little janky.
The webcam is actually totally, it looks completely thrown on. It's not as sleek as the rest of the unit. Clunky was the word that came to mind for me. So, yeah, it's basically there's a little USB port on the top. and it just sticks on there. Speaking of clunky, check out the power brick. And I thought this was really weird until I realized two things. One, it got the power brick away from the computer on like a 6-foot cable. But the really cool thing is actually brings a whole bunch of additional ports on here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 extra USB ports. There's your SPDIF out, actually, an optical and a regular RCA SPDIF out, and an Ethernet connection. And then this crazy cable runs up to the desktop. That's actually kind of cool. The expansion options are actually really cool. Check this out. And this might even make some of the Mac users a little upset. Do we have that cloth anywhere? That cloth go somewhere? Let's see if I can keep from scraping the panel on that. So it's got a tool-free case to open, and
we'll hide this.
We'll hide that.
We don't want to make it feel inferior.
So basically, you tap this and you tap that, and let me turn this so you can actually see what's inside of it. And
Whoa.
Check this out, right? So you've got, and we'll tip it forward. So we've got, there's the user upgradable memory. We've got actually an open mini PCI. There's a second serial ATA slot. You can basically just drop it in there. And what gets a little weird is it's MXM graphics cards. They're model specific, so upgrades are going to be through the spotted box, which is to say gateway, and that should be right under there. Don't touch that, by the way. It gets really hot. I just burned myself. Also, it's really cool. Don't do it. No, 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 no. Back. Because if you come home burnt, like, I'm going to feel really bad. So let me get the cable back out of there. So the case itself, 5-in-1. Did I just like put the?
No, I'm just trying to help.
Thank you.
There you go.
The and it's just that simple. So we got more USB ports, a FireWire port, which is great if you've got a video camera, and a 5-in-1. What do we call those things? Memory card port.
That is not bad. You know, I gotta say, it's nice to have as many USB ports as possible, and because I have so many USB things plugged in. I had to get one of those, the D-Link hubs, a USB hub, so I could add like 7 extra ports, and this would probably take care of most of that problem. That
we actually would really take care of. I'm gonna see if I can get this to play really quick. You know, there was a really great CD in here, at least in my humble opinion, and of course I can't get it to open. So, oh, there it is, unknown album, and can't play that song because there's foul language. Well, check this out, right? What's interesting is there's an NXT panel. So that's actually, the sound's actually coming. Feel the panel right down there. Feel that.
That is some bass in there.
That is some bass in there, and it's actually, most of the, I've always thought the NXT panels were really annoying. Most of the, like, they're usually in these little cheap stand-up speakers. It actually sounds really good, and it's got some oomph to it.
So the subwoofer is turned up again? Subwoofer's right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not bad.
But it actually sounds shockingly good, especially if you're sitting in front of it. So you got 3 models, $1,300, $1,500, $1,800. The $1,800 model is probably overkill, but it does have a 2 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo processor, which is really nice. 3 gigabytes of RAM, 500 gigabyte hard drive, so it's pretty well outfitted.
So what say you, Patrick Norton?
I actually enjoy. I give it a thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
It's not as sleek. It is definitely not as sleek. You're going to love the looks or not. One thing we found a little disappointing, I found a little disappointing compared to the iMac, was the build quality. This is not, you know, there's a little, it's the way it goes together. It just wasn't quite as clean as the iMac. Maybe our unit's been bummed around a little bit. But I think it looks fine, actually.
It looks pretty spiffy, yeah, totally.
The only real complaint I had with it was I had to install some shovelware to get the performance up a bit, because they've got, like, you know, multiple versions of the Google Desktop in there. And
I really don't like the gap in the seam here.
Yeah, what's interesting is basically there's a plastic cover there, and then it's basically looks like double stick tape, foam double stick tape that holds it in there. Doesn't look too hot. BigFix software is pretty cool. It goes up to the mothership at Gateway and basically tells you anytime downloads are available. Pretty slick. A higher res monitor would be nice, and a bit of a quieter fan. That was the only real complaint we had. Sometimes the fan fires up and it sounds like a little jet engine-y.
Not bad.
No. We're going to take the time now to thank one of the sponsors on the show. They help us bring the show to you, named GoDaddy.com. We want to remind our viewers to tune in to the Indy 500 broadcast presented by GoDaddy.com. Danica Patrick, one of GoDaddy's people that talks about GoDaddy, already made history on the track when she won the Indy Japan 300. Now she's ready to do it again in Indianapolis. Be sure to catch all the high-speed action May 25th, courtesy of GoDaddy.com. And don't forget, as always, if you want to make an impact online, do it with GoDaddy.com. .com names as low as $1.99. That's where I buy mine. Plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. Now, if you enter in the code TEK1, that's TEK1 when you check out, you're going to save an additional 10% off your entire order. couple of restrictions apply. You can see the site for details. But do us a favor, get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com. Support us by supporting them.
And the next question is from, hey, wait a second. Can we do this? Wait,
sure.
Hold on. Yes, yes. All right. This next question is apparently from Patrick. He writes, Dear Roger and Veronica. Wait, do you want to read it? Would that be more appropriate?
Hey, the judges said you can read it.
All right,
I can read it.
fine. I'm going to read it then. He says, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to Maker Faire on Sunday and Saturday. Can you get some pics of the niftiest stuff on display? Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, so you're making us do your dirty work for you?
No, I love Maker Faire. Maker Faire is incredible, and it was really funny. I ran into some people who are like, "Oh, it's the same stuff this year as it was last year," and I'm like, "What are you on crack?"
No way, it was awesome.
There was so much cool stuff.
It was very awesome. Yeah, so the Coke and Mentos guys were there.
We want to throw out props to Serafina, actually, who apparently scrubbed for 2.5 hours and burned the clothes she was wearing to get the Diet Coke out of them. I don't know if you can see the lens getting more and more schmutzed.
Yeah, no, I got covered in it too. The whole reason that they use Diet Coke is because apparently it's less sticky than regular Coke.
Takes less time to scrub off.
Yep. And then there were robo games.
Oh, you know, our buddy David Calkins out there, his whole crew, tearing stuff up in the last actual set of robo games to take place in that stadium.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's being recycled as we speak.
Oh, fantastic.
Speaking of cycle, the bus cycle, what is going on with this thing?
Yeah, the bus cycle was pretty awesome. There were about 16 people, I think, that were on the bus cycle, but you had to have a special wristband that we did not have to get on, so we didn't get to bus cycle around.
Did you see any of the wooden cycles that were running around?
I don't think so. Probably, maybe. There was so much, I just couldn't keep track of it. But I did see Lego trains.
I did not see the Lego trains.
Oh gosh, my fantasy is to have a huge train set up in my house someday, like one that goes all around the walls. And with Legos, you could probably make that a little more possible, a little more quickly.
I like that thought. Actually, the craft was there, which is like the
Bizarre Bazaar.
The Bizarre Bazaar?
The Bizarre Bazaar.
What was the Bizarre Bazaar?
That was the craft fair with all the clothes and stuff. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing a new shirt today.
That's a fabulous shirt. Is that new?
It is in fact new, yes.
Where'd you get that?
Yes, well, I got it at the Bizarre Bazaar. So, well, you did actually end up going on Sunday after all.
I was actually pretty stoked. I got down there. I saw this crazy 56 F100 that this guy had put which is really scary. I didn't hear it running. It probably sounds like a cat on fire. It's a huge Detroit diesel engine. It's a 2-cycle diesel engine, which are the loudest engines on the planet. So I'm not thinking it's going to sound real sweet, but it is running on biodiesel. The aviation hall was really cool. Basically, the Experimental Aircraft Association was out in force with all of these kit planes that were there.
This is, I think, the 3rd year I've been there. I think it's the 3rd year it's been around, and you can catch it every year. And I think they do one in Austin too.
They do one later in the year in Austin.
So definitely check it out if you missed it. All right, well, before we move on, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration would like to remind you about their Click It or Ticket campaign. Click It or Ticket will focus on aggressive seatbelt enforcement mobilization between May 19th and June 1st, 2008 across the country. A few sobering facts about seatbelt use. 59% of those killed in an auto accident were not wearing seatbelts at the time of the crash. 62% of teenage passenger vehicle occupants killed in fatal crashes during 2005 were not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. And the greatest risk for dying in a motor vehicle crash is at night. In 2005, over 15,000 passenger vehicle occupants died in traffic crashes between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. So unless you want to risk a ticket or worse, your life, remember to click it or ticket day and night.
It looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. This is a website we can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or too darn irresistible. Today's pick, Plaid Stallions. Like Star Wars, Jaws, and the Osmonds, the 70s provide a lighthearted respite from the confusing and hectic times we face today. And no site captures the joy and novelty of that decade like Plaid Stallions. Through the awesome power of department store and toy catalogs, timeless classics like JCPenney themed sleepwear, G.I. Joe, and Battlestar Galactica action figures all come to life in full Kodachrome color. Additional bonus items include rare 70s shopping mall appearances by Marvel and DC superheroes, Star Wars characters, and of course Cornelius the chimp servant from the Planet of the Apes. And for the most stout of heart, you can venture through an entire section dedicated to those classy and unforgettable fashions that are tied into America's most lampooned, and quite rightfully so, decade. From evening wear to leisure suits and even lingerie, if you can call it that, you'll find it all. Stunning satin one-pieces, bachelor wear, ugly shirts of all varieties, and of course, the most coveted fashion of all from the 70s, couple wear.
Because nothing says I love you, honey, like dressing alike.
So sure, the 70s might be over, but you can relive those wild and tasteless days of cheap gas and high speed limits over and over again through Plaid Stallions. And remember, it's not just making fun, it's about remembering our shared history.
Aww. Aww. I love couples wear.
Did you see that?
You can kind of get close to that if you buy a big enough Juicy Couture like tracksuit that says Juicy on the back. You can both wear those. You can get away with that, right?
I don't know if you heard that scuffling noise. That was hundreds of thousands of people recoiling from their screens and televisions. Couches tipping over in fear. We'd like to apologize. No, actually, we won't apologize. We liked that.
Wonderful. All right, Patrick, are you ready to answer some more questions?
Yeah, I am.
I think we need to distance ourselves from Plaid Stallions for a little bit.
That was my youth. That was
awkward. Awkward. I'd like to see you in one of those button-up things with the big collars and the things.
Fortunately, I was in some spectacularly aggressive suits, but not one leisure suit amongst the mix. I'd like to thank my mother for keeping me out of leisure suits.
All right, well, we've got a question here.
Or leisure suits, as they sometimes call them.
Would you like to read the question?
I'm obviously being prompted to move out of the 70s and back to the 21st century. My question is about Windows utilities that are starting to add anti-malware, adware, phishing, and all sorts of features to their former functions. Can you run too many of these things at once? My older Dell laptop runs XP with Windows Defender, a free real-time malware fighter, AVG 7.5, and recently Komodo 3, which adds another real-time malware fighter. Now AVG says I have to upgrade to AVG 8, which would add a third real-time malware fighter. I'm also running the McAfee Site Advisor for searches, and I believe the new AVG 8 is something called Link Scanner, which may be the same thing. How much is too much already? Thanks for any assistance, Albin.
Yeah, this is why I run OS 10. Thanks.
Hopefully, I mean, there's a part of me as a OS 10 Vista XP kind of consumer. There's part of me that's hoping market share on OS 10 gets big enough that the sort of virus.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Well, but which is.
I'm not saying that we're without our problems,
right.
But I mean, hey, I'm not running 400,000 different malware, adware, spyware.
One of the delightful
virus
side
scanners,
effects.
defenders,
yeah.
Yada yada yada. I mean, you sound like you've got you're locked up pretty tight there.
Yeah, I gotta say, Albin, I admire your accidental sort of belt, suspenders, duct tape, and glue approach to security. It is definitely time to drop some of this stuff. And I hate the fact that everybody in security wants to be a suite now. It's a wicked ripping pain in the ass.
Sweet, sweet.
Oh yeah, it's like everybody's got another checkbox feature, and most of the integrated security suites, unfortunately, suck. Though I've been promised repeatedly by folks that test this stuff for a living that Norton Integrated Security 2008 fixes most of the pain points from the previous years, like sucking down every clock cycle into the black hole of uselessness. So Norton 2008 is supposed to be pretty good. No connection to my name before you start emailing. Now.
Is black hole of uselessness TM? Is that trademarked?
It should be.
All right.
I actually may trademark that tonight.
Useless.
So you may want to consider dumping all of these competing things for a one-stop shop, Albin, because I can't imagine running all this stuff isn't slowing your system down. Definitely, though, the first thing is to figure out what you can shut off or disable in each one of these. Now, I keep McAfee's Site Advisor. It's really good. It's a nice plug-in for Firefox, and you can upgrade to AVG 8, but see if you can turn off its link scanner. You're going to have to dig around there, and it's still going to load some stuff, but basically you might have to reinstall it. Now, here's the thing. If you don't mind AVG 8 leaving bits and pieces around your system, stick with it. My fave security reviewer, Neil Rubenking, just gave it a huge thumbs up. For better cleanup, though, pony up the $40, because basically it leaves little bits scattered around your system. Pony up the $40 for the very excellent Spyware Doctor with Antivirus 5.5. Now, definitely turn off application or live application monitoring in Komodo. And once you've done all that, you should reduce the trauma and the overlap and the 15 windows opening up simultaneously and still keep your system safe.
Not bad.
Yeah, he's all got a bunch of really good free tools there. It's just, as they update, they just keep adding more.
It's just overlapping too much. I mean, you're just using more than you probably need.
It's just a shame because they keep like, let's add more feature bloat. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone wants to be the only company that you need on your computer, so they keep adding features, and then, you know, you just end up with too much.
And then they go from a great this to a really mediocre this.
You know, I've heard that Windows Defender is great. So should he stick with that?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Dump Windows Defender. It's not bad. It's a nice free tool, but you've got a bunch of other tools.
I think it's good, so clearly you need to dump it. Because what do I know?
What operating system do you run?
Shut up.
And what's the last time you touched a Windows machine?
Shut up.
Have you read any Windows Defender reviews?
We have another question. Anyway. Patrick. Adam writes in, he says, I'm off to college next year and want to get a TV between 22 inches and 30 inches. I have an Xbox 360 and plan to get a PS3 at some point, so the optimal HD experience would be ideal. Everyone wants the optimal HD experience.
Yeah, you know what the sucky HD experience? I want to feel like I've wasted my money. Send us that question.
He also wants to hook up his MacBook. That would be super rad. And as far as price goes, I'm an incoming college student, so nothing too pricey. Thanks.
Well, Adam, you don't want much.
So he wants the optimal HD experience for his Xbox 360 and his soon-to-be PS3, but he doesn't want to spend a lot of money.
Well, that's understandable, and it's kind of funny because you're in that sort of, you know, tiny HDTV range, and it's amazing. Like, I actually saw an advertisement for Costco that's like a $100 coupon, so you can pick up like a 32-inch. I can't remember the brand. It was not a major brand, but it was like a 32-inch off-brand for $299 after the coupon.
Did he say he was going to do this in his dorm room? Ooh, party in Adam's room.
Big party in Adam's room. Sharp and Vizio are both great manufacturers. Mail ordering is great for the best price. And if you want to use your Mac or a PC, make sure the monitor doesn't overscan or the dock or the toolbar are going to be off the bottom of the screen, which is incredibly annoying. So, or, you know, if you're lucky, your graphics card will allow you to compensate, but a lot of times they don't. Be aware of overscan. And
don't obsess about getting a monitor over 720p. Anything under 42 plus inches, 1080p is kind of overkill.
It's really hard. I mean, you know, Robert Heron actually is a big fan of 1080p because a lot of times 1080p panels offer better picture quality, not because the extra resolution, it's hard to tell at that size, but because they do a better job with motion or grays or maybe offer a deeper black because they cram a few more into, like a few more features in there because they're going to hit you for the price of the 1080p panel.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, but 1080p can also be a little more future-proof.
Yeah.
Or 1080i versus 1080p. I mean, if you have the money to throw down, a lot of people, I've heard that it's better to just go right for the 1080i.
If he was going for 42 inches or more, I would absolutely say definitely skip 1080i, go for 1080p, skip 720p.
Rather, I got 'em backwards.
Because
it's so easy to remember.
And yeah, it's so frustrating is what it is. And then there's the whole non-standard resolutions that a lot of them have, especially at the low end because they get cheap glass, but it doesn't actually map out to the proper resolution. But read the specs, shop somewhere you can return the monitor if you don't like it. Costco has great deals and a great return policy. But yeah, I just, you know, if it was 42 inches or bigger, I'd say totally go for 1080p. Especially if it was like 47, 50 inches, 1080p makes a huge difference. When you get down to like 30 inches, man, it's hard unless you're like sitting this close.
Right. So next question?
Rob writes in, I'm growing out of room on my hard drives. I'd like to move to a NAS or a Drobo, but given the price, I want to make sure it's expandable for years to come. That's understandable. I like the Drobo because you can mix drive sizes, but more drive bays sounds like more rooms for future expansion, and Netgear's ReadyNAS Pro has 6 bays. One question for both Netgear's ReadyNAS and the Drobo, if the ad says it can hold up to 4 terabytes of data, is that a limit of the box or the size of the largest hard drives on the market today? Rob, great questions.
That is a great question. I am a Drobo fan, personally. And what I like about them is that they're future-proof in the sense that eventually they'll be able to store up to 16 terabytes of drive space. So right now they're at the maximum, they can do 4, but eventually it'll be 4 terabytes each, which is a good thing.
It's a really good thing.
It's a lot of space.
You just can't buy anything bigger than a terabyte right now.
Right now, exactly. But that's why I said 4 right now total.
Right.
1 terabyte per drive.
Right.
That are hot swappable, which is also nice. And then down the line, it will be up to 16 terabytes total, 4 terabytes per drive.
Whenever 4 terabyte drives are available.
The math was right, right?
The math is very right.
Good.
Details on the ReadyNAS Pro are a little thin right now. Nobody has them for sale, and there's no pricing info for that 6-bay box. But if the ReadyNAS NV Plus, which is the kind of standard consumer one, is any indication, it should be a solid performer, though it is currently limited to 1 terabyte drives max, which works out nicely since you can only buy 1 terabyte drives, but we don't know if what kind of firmware upgrade or if there's a hard drive or sort of a hardware limitation on the size of those. If you do go the ReadyNAS route, you might want to shop carefully. Some of the drive configurations seem a little pricey for what you get depending on where you shop, though some are a bargain compared to the $899 bare bones version. And for folks that have been calling out the Drobo as expensive, while the ReadyNAS does have a built-in server and gigabit Ethernet, the empty version starts at $899 if you shop online, which is actually even more expensive than the Drobo plus the Drobo share.
Yeah, I just like the Drobo. I think they're a good company, they make good products, and it works really well. Although some people don't like the interface part of it.
Yeah, well, there's always...
Like just be able to drag things in.
It would be nice, but you can drag things. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean.
Let us move on.
We shall move on.
Before the forums start firing up on the whole Drobo question again.
We're a viewer-generated show. We live on your questions, so email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails, so send them in to techzilla@revision3.com. And as always, you can visit our forums where?
At revision3.com/forum.
She's so good. And speaking of forum topics, don't forget to check out our movie pick discussion. This week, our pick was Revenge of the Nerds, a timeless classic of love.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds was last week.
Oh my goodness.
It was Weird Science.
Oh, I'm just still obsessed in Revenge of the Nerds. I'm a bad man. Get into a friendly argument about either movie in our forums.
Yeah, it's not like the forum thread just goes away or anything. I mean, you can still argue about it.
Yeah, debate in our forums and let us know what you think about either of these movies or anything else you want to talk about.
Exactly. Plus, previous episodes of Techzilla are waiting to be rewatched at revision3.com/Techzilla, and you can find more details on the site.
Well, thank you for watching. Until next time, you've been watching Techzilla. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont. The lights are everywhere! Oh, God! I'm punching you. All right, we're all good. I got no hairs on my boobs. Okay.